This video is intended to explain general partnerships in a very, very general fashion. As with all human relationships, things can get very, very complicated, but what we're going to talk about are just basic ideas that the law has about general partnerships, basic premises and assumptions that are imposed on general partnerships unless something else has been agreed to. So if you start with the idea of a general partnership, here's what you can expect. And during slow moments, I may show photos or video of my dog. One thing or one concept you need to understand for general partnerships is joint and several liability. Take, for example, a pedestrian walking down the street, minding their own business. They're in the sidewalk, actually, not in the street, not doing anything wrong. There's a collision between two cars and somehow the pedestrian gets injured. The two drivers are at fault, not the pedestrian, and the question comes up, if the pedestrian has medical expenses of $10,000, how much is each driver going to pay? Please keep in mind that this is an extremely limited hypothetical. In the real world, the jury would be asked to apportion responsibility for the collision, for the accident, for the injuries. The jury may apportion responsibility between the two drivers like 60-40 or 70-30, but the judge would still have the option of making the two drivers jointly liable for the $10,000 medical expenses. Also, there are other things that the victim could try to get besides medical expenses. He could try to get money for pain and suffering, money for lost wages, etc., etc., but I'm trying to keep this simple, so I just said medical expenses, $10,000. Okay, so in our hypothetical, the victim has a piece of paper saying the two drivers are jointly and severally liable for $10,000. He can go and try and collect that from one, all $10,000 from one, and not try to go after the other. He may try to go after them equally, each for $5,000. He can split it any way he wants. It's kind of a catch-as-catch-can situation. One of them may be poor. One of them may run off to Venezuela. For whatever reason, he may not be able to get a single penny from one of those drivers, in which case he has the option of going to get all $10,000 from the other driver. That's completely his decision once he has that piece of paper saying the two drivers are jointly and severally liable. And when I say piece of paper, I mean the court order, the judgment from the judge. Of course, he can't get more than $10,000. That's the only real limit on the victim at this point, is he's not allowed to get more than his actual medical expenses, which the judge has determined to be $10,000. So back to general partnerships. In a general partnership, not a limited partnership, but a general partnership situation, it's an all for one and one for all kind of situation. And the general partners are each jointly and severally liable for the debts of the general partnership. So for example, if there's, 1,000 general partners, and one of them goes off and borrows $1 million from the bank, then the bank can expect all and each of the 1,000 partners to be responsible for repaying that $1 million. Here's a chart showing another example. In this example, a partnership with three people, Mr. Blue, Miss Orange, and Miss Gray, owe $60,000 to somebody. That money could be collected $20,000 from each partner. That's the first example. Or the last example, Mr. Blue pays all $60,000 and Miss Gray and Miss Orange pay nothing. You can tell what I'm trying to get at is there's thousands of different permutations and apportionments that can be imagined for Mr. Blue, Miss Gray, and Miss Orange. And since they're jointly and severally liable, conceivably any one of them's on the hook for all of it. Another thing about general partnerships that we have already kind of touched on is that each partner has the power to commit or make promises for the entire partnership. So even if you had a partnership with 1 million partners, just one of them by himself could go borrow a bunch of money in the name of the whole partnership. Just one partner could go and sign a contract. Just one partner could go and write a check and drain the partnership's bank account. But coming back to something that I said earlier, the relationships between the partners can be very complicated. You might have one partner whose sole job it is to find new clients. You might have another partner whose sole job it is to serve those clients. You might have another partner who's the accountant, bookkeeper in the group. And you might have a partner whose job it is to hire and fire employees. But people outside the partnership won't know that. And if it's a general partnership, people outside the partnership can expect things to be completely equal. And they can depend that one partner can bind the entire partnership to a particular contract or a commitment or a debt, and they can expect each of the partners to be on the hook for the whole debt. Okay, so that's the end of my video. Just to sum up, this does not apply to limited partnerships in the same way. In a limited partnership, you will have a group of general partners who manage the partnership, who make the big decisions, but they also get the big rewards. In a limited partnership, you will have lesser partners, partners who don't have as much power and who don't get as much of the profit, but they're also not as on the hook for as much of the debt. We'll talk more about limited partnerships probably in another video I'm going to work on, where I talk about different kinds of business entities in general. But just understand, general partnerships work in more of an equal and broad fashion than limited partnerships. Also, just to sum up, in a general partnership, each partner gets to make decisions for the entire partnership, and each partner gets to share in the debt and the profit. Thank you. Goodbye.